This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the June 19th, 2024 South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners meeting. I will call this meeting to order. We have all commissioners present this evening. At this time, I would ask you to all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to announce that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted to the Township website for public access. At this time, I would ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please review our public virtual meeting rules.
Thank you. The public virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the board of commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you will have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'd also like to announce the Board of Commissioners met in executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. Agenda item 4 is courtesy of the floor. This is opportunity for any member of the public to comment on any non-agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience this evening that would like to approach the board? Is there anyone online? Comments? No. Agenda item 5 are meeting minutes from our June 5th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting. They were distributed to the board in advance for your review. Are there any comments or questions? I need a motion to approve. There's a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda item 6, we have a presentation this evening. Community Development Department Planner Greg Adams is retiring officially. At this time, I'll ask our Director of Community Development, Dave Manhart, if you had any comments before we give him his proclamation.
Yes, of course I do. So we celebrated Greg at the Planning Commission meeting last week, where we reviewed his conditions of approval for retirement, his career statistics with South Whitehall Township, and his lasting legacies at the Township. It was a rather lengthy discussion, so I will refrain from going through all of that. But if anybody's interested, I can provide those statistics. But I believe the highlight of those career statistics is the number of sick days he's taken over those 25 years, which is a grand total of 0. So he certainly gets the Iron Man award.
That is incredible.
So I'm going to take this opportunity to share some of the things I shared with the Planning Commission, but to share with the BOC what I believe is Greg's greatest attribute is his devotion to service. Some of you may know or may not know that Greg served in the U.S. Army as an armored tank crewman. And then after that, after blowing things up with tanks, he devoted himself to serving his local community. He's volunteered with the Hamburger Festival Committee in Hamburg, and also with the Blue Mountain Wildlife. And then I believe that working for municipal government, you have to have a certain appreciation for service. So in that regard, Greg has certainly devoted 25 years of his career to servicing the community of South Whitehall. So Greg, thank you for your service to this country, this community, and thank you for your local community, and thank you for your 25 years of service to South Whitehall Township. Congratulations, Greg.
Dave, thank you. That was very well said. And the board would concur with your gratitude to Greg, both for his service to our country and certainly to his service to this township for the last 25 years. At this time, I do have a Distinguished Service Award that I would like to present to you, Greg. The South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners, township staff, and citizens of the township would like to take this time to recognize your distinguished service with the township. Community Development Department from June 21st, 1999 to June 30th of 2024. During your 25 years of service as a research assistant, IT administrator, assistant planner, and then planner, you have demonstrated to all what an exemplary work ethic looks like: commitment, hard work, and excellence. You have always served the residents of South Whitehall with kindness and patience, for which we say thank you. It is with great pride and appreciation that the Board of Commissioners and Township staff hereby presents this Distinguished Service Award as a token of our gratitude to you. It has truly been an honor and privilege to work with you through the years, and we are deeply grateful to you. You wish the very best in your future endeavors, and please know that you will be greatly missed. Presented by this board, Township Manager Tom Petrucci and Herb Bender, Director of Operations. Congratulations. We're going to take a quick photograph. If everybody would please step down. Moving on, thank you all for your patience. Agenda item 7 is ordinances. We have an ordinance amending Chapter 336, Vehicles and Traffic of the Codified Ordinances of the Township of South Whitehall to provide for an additional parking zone for persons with disabilities and disabled veterans, and to provide for severability, retention of rights, to enforce repealer and an effective date. And I will ask our Director of Operations, Herb Bender, to please present.
Thank you. Administration is respectfully asking to amend the code chapter 336 vehicles and traffic, article 4 general parking regulations of the codified ordinance of South Whitehall Township to amend section 336-41. We were contacted by the Westwood Heights Swim Club located at 1144 North 38th Street. They are requesting to have 2 handicap parking space signs installed. The reason for the request is to allow for the handicap members easier access to the facility. Attached is a map of where those signs would be installed if granted permission. When meeting with the swim club, I did confirm with them that these would not just be for the swim club, but anyone with a handicap license plate or placard card could park in those spaces. The action we are requesting is administration is respectfully looking for a motion to amend the current section of code 33641 to send to legal for review, then to advertise.
Very good, Herb. Thank you very much for preparing the memo and for including the map. It was very helpful. I just have one question. Is there currently parking in front of that swim club?
Yes, they actually park all around that curve right there. It's, I believe, a 36-foot wide street, so there's actually parking on both sides of that block.
Very good. I'll open up to the board if there are comments or questions on this ordinance. None? Are there any public comments or questions? Chris, is there anything online? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to proceed with advertising of amended ordinance.
Second.
Motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Herb. Going on to resolutions. We have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the township manager to execute professional services agreements for the Jordan Valley Open Space zoning update not to exceed $150,000. And I'll call on our Director of Community Development, Dave Manhart, or is it Chris Stroller? A little confusion.
Either one of us can certainly
Dave's got the
handle it.
microphone. I think it's you.
So in April, earlier this year, the Board of Commissioners authorized us to release a request for proposals to look at the Jordan Valley or open space zoning update. We received bids back, quotes back, and we're looking to finalize some of those quotes. We're looking to build a team of those consultants, so we had to modify some of the scopes, and we're just kind of going through finalizing those details. And in order to kind of move this forward a little quicker, we're asking for authorization for the township manager to enter professional service agreements up to $150,000, so we can kind of get this moving. Right now, the concepts are, really to focus on open space. Open space preservation is really the primary goal, balancing a lot of other interests and property rights and things like that. So right now, we're still developing the ultimate deliverable.
Very good, Dave. Thank you. And thank you to Chris Stroller for preparing this memo. It was very informative and very helpful for the board. I'll open it up for any questions or comments. Resolution?
So just the only thing, Dave, is that the consultants know that we are expecting to get feedback from the township residents and that we want their input, the township residents' input as well, so that they need to be aware that maybe they're not used to working with resident input, but we are going to encourage resident input early and often.
Yeah, and I think the strategy and communications plan is really to keep the community informed as much as possible, and having that open opportunity to submit comments throughout the process. I think the interaction between the consultants and the public, I don't see as being a very, very often. The interaction with the public would be through staff. We would direct the consultants appropriately.
Very good.
I also wanted to add that we very clearly define overlay and describe what it is, because we all know the history of overlays here. So I want everyone, all our residents, to know that this is a very different type of overlay.
Yes, I think we can handle some of that in what we end up calling it, whatever we name the zoning district. I think because it's focused on open space, I think Jordan Valley open space overlay. But again, overlay is a mechanism in the municipal planning code. So that's why we're using that term. We may shift direction and use some of the other provisions, whether it's a planned residential development or other provisions. Overlay is kind of the term that's easiest, and the community is most familiar with it, but it may not be a positive connotation. So we are aware of that and work through that.
Very good comments from the commissioners. I just wanted to add one comment. The proposals that were included in the packet, there were an awful lot of pictures included with the descriptions, and I think that would be very helpful for the residents to understand as we're working through this process. So thank you for including those.
Yeah.
Any other board comments? Any public comment? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to approve adoption of said resolution authorizing the township manager to execute professional services agreements for the Jordan Valley open space zoning update not to exceed $150,000.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Agenda item 8B, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving a general service agreement between the South Whitehall Township Police Department and Millennial Operations LLC, DBA Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom. I'll ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you. South Whitehall Township and Millennium Operations LLC, doing business as Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom, have mutually determined an identified need for continued cooperation regarding the use of sworn police officers, delineated as follows. So 2 officers are needed at identified peak dates and times during the operation of the amusement park complex, including wet and dry parks. The officers would assist with maintaining the peace and security of Dorney Park. These officers will be compensated at the police service extra duty overtime rate of $83.17 per hour for all hours worked, as confirmed in the 2024 schedule of fees. This arrangement has been in place for the last several years. This memorializes that arrangement. New for this year, is mutually discussed between the township and Dorney Park. Up to six officers, I should say, would be needed at identified peak dates and times during the operation of the amusement park complex for both the wet and dry parks to assist with providing traffic control services at the intersection of Hamilton Boulevard and Lincoln Avenue as a dedicated special voluntary assigned detail unit. The officers would be compensated at the holiday overtime rate, either shift 1, shift 2, or shift 3 for all hours actually worked. Dorney Park just confirmed their willingness to reimburse South Whitehall Township for the associated costs, and it would be set forth in the general service agreement, which is on the agenda tonight for approval via resolution. So just so everyone's aware, when it's special services duty detail as such for both the park officers as well as for the traffic officers, this is a voluntary assignment, and it's not required where we can assign the officers, so they have to volunteer, and then the costs are paid by Dorney Park. So the intent of the new traffic detail is to help assuage the concerns of moving traffic through the intersection and not having a situation where traffic is backing up onto 78, which creates a safety hazard. So 3 to 4 officers are minimally required to have the traffic control. 6 officers are optimal. So that's why the agreement is worded as up to 6 officers. The agreement's been reviewed by both our solicitor as well as the labor attorney. So it is ready to be adopted, and then Dorney Park would have to sign it in order to complete the agreement.
Very good, Tom. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board on this resolution? Any from the public? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And this is a similar resolution. We have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County of Pennsylvania, approving a memorandum of understanding between South Whitehall Township and the South Whitehall Township Bargaining Unit representing full-time non-managerial officers of the South Whitehall Township Police Department. And Tom, if you'd present this agenda item as well.
Thank you. So this is a companion document to the General Service Agreement, and this is required in order to set forth the terms between the township and the South Whitehall Township Bargaining Unit for the police service. So the key provisions of the memorandum of understanding between the township and the bargaining unit are provided as follows. So the MOU would automatically terminate in the event that that the General Service Agreement would terminate for whatever reason with Dorney Park. And then this automatically sunsets at the end of 2024. So this will only be in effect during the time period of the 2024 Dorney Park season. This gives the township and the bargaining unit, as well as Dorney Park, the ability to evaluate the effectiveness of the MOU arrangement at the conclusion of the season with Dorney Park. As specified earlier, the costs would be paid by Dorney Park.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. Any board questions on this resolution? Public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8D, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township to submit an application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development 2024 Marketing to Attract Tourists Grant Program to provide funding to be used for the acquisition of one patrol police vehicle and e-bikes for the use of patrol officers. I'll ask our interim police chief, Steve Brown, to please present this agenda item.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. The Police Department is respectfully requesting permission to apply for this grant through the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. Our intent is to provide funding to be used towards the purchase of another patrol vehicle and a number of e-bikes yet to be determined by some quotes that we have out there. These would be used by the patrol officers, e-bikes, especially in our parks, our neighborhoods. Anywhere we can, we're looking at the pedal assist electronic bikes. So it's not the full electric bike, but it's going to help them ride longer instead of being tired out, and they could ride longer and for both in time and distance.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. Is there matching funds for this, or will this grant, if we receive it, cover the full cost of these items?
It would cover the full cost.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
I have a quick question. Do we have any e-bikes presently, or would this be the first time we're getting them?
This would be the first time.
Great.
Okay.
So this year you're getting 4 new ones. Does this cover the cost of one of those 4, or is this a 5th new one?
This would be in a 5th, or no, are you talking about vehicles? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We ordered 3, it was 3 before, so this would be 4.
I thought there was 4.
It was 3. This would be the 4th. It was 3 for this year, 4 for last year.
Okay, I'm here off. But that's okay, that's fine.
Any other comments? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Agenda item 8E, we have a resolution granting preliminary final approval to a major plan entitled Nestle Purina Wastewater Treatment Upgrades. I'll ask our planner, Greg Adams, to please present.
Thank you. This is an application to further develop the properties located at 2050 Pope Road and 4535 Huckleberry Road. On 2050 Pope Road, the plan proposes the construction of a 21,921 square foot wastewater treatment building on the current site of Waste Disposal Facility Holding Basin 1B. The plan proposes that the treated effluent be rerouted from its current discharge point and will be piped across the remainder of 2050 Pope Road, under Huckleberry Road, and north of across 4535 Huckleberry Road to discharge directly into the Jordan Creek. The plan proposes the construction of a gate and driveway on 4535 Huckleberry Road to support monitoring and property maintenance. The plan also proposes the construction of an 896 square foot maintenance building to the immediate north of the main production facility buildings. The Planning Commission, at their May 16, 2024 meeting, recommended approval of the Nestle Purina wastewater treatment upgrades, Major Plan 2021-102, with 9 conditions and 13 favorably recommended waiver and deferral requests. In the interim, the applicant has addressed 1 condition, and staff has added an additional 5 standard boilerplate and legal protections conditions. The applicant is requesting approval of the plan at this evening, and staff has no objections to this request. I believe the Nestle team is here in force tonight if you have any questions or comments.
Very good, Greg. Thank you for that presentation. Before we move on to comments or questions from the board, I would like to ask our township engineer, Tony Talarida, if you have any engineering comments.
Thank you. Yes. As you can see in our letter, we only have a few minor stormwater comments that we don't feel would hold up this plan. The one outstanding waiver was discussed at length over a few planning commission meetings. They are asking a waiver for a driveway slope greater than 10%, which is a standard. They're at 14.7% is what they're proposing. Now, after the first planning commission meeting, they came in with 4 points to justify the waiver. Them being, the first is this is not for public use. This is a gated driveway. It's for Nestle staff only. They're in charge of maintenance for snow or bad weather, but it's their driveway only. Second, they in the packet, there's a standards for PennDOT driveways, which talk about landing areas, if you will, coming up to a road that they have met based upon their slopes. The third is this is a driveway for maintenance only. It's not to service any buildings, but to check the status of their stormwater facilities and some utilities in this area. So it's not something that will be used heavily. And then the fourth item that they discussed is while there is open land on this side of the road that they own, if ever there's a land development or any changes to use, they agreed that this driveway may be reconstructed if requested at that time, meaning that it's changed use. They have to use more people are coming using it. They said that they're open to understanding that if the planning commission and the board at that time asked them to reconstruct it to meet standards, they're open and willing to do that. So those are the 4 points of justification that they have brought in to the planning commission to receive their recommendation from them.
Very good, Tony. Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
I'll open up to the board if there are any comments or questions on this resolution.
So which plot of land on Huckleberry is it 4,500? Which one is it? That field there? Do they own that? So if it's going to be developed, they're going to have to sell it for development, right? Nestle people? So you own that land. If you open it up for development, you would have to sell it to a developer.
Let's turn on the microphone, please.
Absolutely. Stephanie Coble on behalf of Nestle Purina. Yeah, if we were to develop the land, we'd either develop it ourselves, in which case we're submitting a land development plan and coming back here, or we'd be selling it to a third party. Nestle has no intention of selling it to a third party, and that third party would have to come back if they wanted to do anything with it. So the approval we're asking for tonight, rather the waiver, is just for the driveway, just for the use of inspecting the stormwater controls. And in addition, before the Planning Commission, we did give some additional justifications for why we need this waiver and why this is really placed in the best possible location. And I'm just going to run through those now because I think it would be helpful for the board to have a greater understanding of this issue. As the township engineer correctly noted, we were before the Planning Commission twice, specifically really with regard to this waiver. The first time we were before the Planning Commission, they asked us to really review this matter, do a deeper dive with your township engineer and see if we could change things to make it better, maybe not need the waiver. We did that. So some of the things we found in looking at that is to decrease the slope of the driveway would require additional impervious coverage in an area that's already flood prone. You don't necessarily want, actually, our engineer can go into detail, and I'm sure your engineer can go into detail, why you don't want additional impervious coverage in a flood prone area. To decrease the slope of the driveway would require us to put more fill in a floodplain area, which would create an increased risk of flooding in a flood prone area. And this area, as this board is acutely aware, because at the last time I was before you for a Nestle project, there was a presentation on studying the flooding of the Jordan Creek, and this is directly next to the Jordan Creek. Finally, to decrease the slope of the driveway, we would need to elongate the driveway. The existing site limits our ability to elongate the driveway. Specifically, the driveway is constricted by a PPL easement, which we can't build within, the floodplain, and an existing stormwater inlet from Huckleberry Road, which we would need to relocate. And the current location of the pipe is actually the preferred location by DEP and Lehigh County Conservation District. So we don't want to change a stormwater inlet from its preferred location as it sits now to accommodate an elongated driveway that is going to be gated, have a driveway turnaround. The Planning Commission asked that we sign it as private and no trespassing. We are, of course, agreeable to signing it. Planning Commission also asked that we make sure an address is assigned to it in case there would be any type of emergency, so that emergency responders, fire company, ambulance could get there with no worries and no delay. We're fine with that. But those are some of the additional justifications. And this is really why this waiver is, one that was well thought out. It just wasn't one that we were like, we don't want to make a longer driveway. It was one that we're doing the best we can to fit your ordinance. We do understand and we do acknowledge if this property were ever developed, this is not a waiver that would carry forward to the future development of this property.
Is that agreement memorialized? So 10 years from now, if they change their mind, we're all gone?
We haven't gotten into the land development agreements. I'm sure that the solicitor's office could insert it into an agreement or we could do a plan note, whatever the township is most comfortable with.
It definitely can be added, but even if it were not added, the fact is, as Stephanie has pointed out, if there's a future development, there's an opportunity there to require something different.
Are there other comments from
Tony, you're okay with everything, correct? As far as
I agree with all their justifications that they provide in terms of impervious, in terms of meeting PennDOT. Obviously, it's at the discretion of the board, but all their justifications were reviewed and confirmed.
I'm fine.
Any other comments from the board? Any public comment on this agenda item? Nothing online. Okay, hearing and seeing none. Do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Just for clarification, was that a motion for both the plan and all the waivers and deferrals?
Do we need to do a separate motion for it was all encompassed into?
You don't need to do a separate motion. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to it.
I didn't catch it either. That's why I
Motion
asked.
granting preliminary final approval, so it was all embedded within. Do I need to do a separate?
I would impose a caution to a separate.
Very good. Could you bring that up on the screen? My tablet is not working. Not opening. I'm looking for the waiver. Attorney Zader, the waivers are all listed in the resolution, so do I need to call them out separately?
You do not.
So the motion that we made is sufficient, which encompasses this entire resolution. Very good.
I'm okay with that, with that
Very good. Well,
clarification.
Good luck with your
Thank you.
project. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 9, motions. We have a motion to proceed with security release, Ridge Farm, Phase 1A, improvement security release certification number 6. I'll ask our planner, Greg Adams, to please present.
Thank you. This is an application to develop the property at the northeast corner of Cedar Crest Boulevard and Walbert Avenue. I think we all know where that is. This project, Ridge Farm Final Plan 1A, was approved by the Board of Commissioners at their April 6, 2022 meeting. The applicant has secured $3,570,877.33 in improvements for Phase 1A. The plan was recorded July 5th, 2023. Construction, as you can see every day, has been started. The applicant has completed more of the required improvements and is now requesting a 6th release for the completed improvements. The Township Engineer's Office and staff has conducted inspections to confirm and document the construction of the required improvements and are authorizing a release of $526,802.65. This release will bring the value of the constructed improvements to $2,057,284.23. This motion would be to authorize the township manager to sign the security release letter to the financial institution. And staff has no objections to this.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. I'll again ask our township engineer if you have any additional comments.
No, we have reviewed this again. They're working on utilities. All this is utility work, mostly storm sewer and lost in the water line. So they're doing a lot of underground utility work in preparation for trying to get the building prepared. We've reviewed this. We have no objection.
Very good. Thank you. Does the board have any comments or questions on this motion? Is there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Then item 9B, we have a motion to proceed with sewer line repair on 31st Street between Tillman and Washington Street. And I'll ask our Director of Operations, Herb Bender, to please present.
Thank you. Public Works Utility Division is respectfully asking permission to proceed with repairing the sewer line sag on 31st Street between Tillman Street and Washington Street. After reaching out to 7 companies, only 2 gave us a quote for this repair. We are asking to move forward with Schwarman Excavating for the repair work in the amount of $10,570. Motion by the Board of Commissioners to proceed with Schwarman Excavating to repair the sewer line at 31st Street. This was budgeted in the 2024 budget under sewer main replacements in the amount of $55,000. And just to be clear, this is only step 1 of the full fix of the line. So we got to get the sag fixed first before we can line the rest of it.
Very good, Herb. Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
I do have a quick question because I don't know.
Mhm.
How did you know that there was a sag? Is it your assessment of all the lines when you use that camera to go in the sewer lines, or how did you find it?
Yes, you can find it with the camera, but this was actually found by Jeff Clapper when he was currently here in the Public Works Department. I'm trying to get it fixed now. So it's been known that it's there. I just want to get it corrected so we can get this line up to standards.
Very good. Any other comments from the board? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Motion. Oh, second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Herb. We have a motion to proceed with advertising regarding sidewalk specifications for municipal building sidewalk project. Ask our Director of Operations, Herb Bender, to again present.
Thank you. During the April 3rd, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting, the board approved a motion to proceed with the engineering work for the construction of the new sidewalk in front of the Township building along Walbert Avenue. The sidewalk will connect to the existing sidewalk in front of Attorney Zader's office and will be ADA compliant, including a Atlanta bus stop. The Township contracted with the Pitcock Company to create a technical bid specification for the sidewalk. A copy of this has been provided for your reference. Township staff respectfully request the board's permission to bid this project. The project was requested and approved in the 2024 budget for $294,124.80 under line item, the capital account.
Very good.
Memo.
Thank you, Herb. Thank you for including the diagrams for us to review. It's a very, very well thought out plan, and I'm happy to see that it's going to provide walkability connections between the Township Library and the Lanta bus stop down the street as well. So thank you. Are there any board comments or questions on this agenda item?
I just want to make everyone aware that will close out the use of the general obligation bond funds. So that would be the end of that bond.
Very good. Thank you. No board comments. Is there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 9D, we have a motion to proceed with the replacement of the Jacoby Water Station roof. And Herb, if you'd present.
Sure. Public Works Utility is respectfully requesting approval to move forward with replacing Jacoby Water Station roof. Public Works solicited 4 quotes, and after going through all the quotes, we are respectfully asking to proceed with In the Light Roofing. The price to replace the roof on the water station and well house is $17,190.05. We're respectfully requesting a motion to approve the roof replacement. This was budgeted in the 2024 budget and water facilities capital for $37,000. And the reason we budgeted $37,000 is last year we got 2 quotes at budget time. One was at $54,000, the other was around $22,000. So we went in the middle of the road. So
Very nice. It's nice to see the bid come in low. Are there any board comments or questions on this agenda item? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
So moved.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Agenda item 9E, we have a motion to authorize Township Manager to send letter of opposition concerning House Bill 1976, House Bill 2045, and Senate Bill 1126. I'll ask Township Manager Tom Petrucci to present.
Thank you. So on June 6th of this year, the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors, PSATs, published an article which made the membership aware that there's 2 bills at the House level that have since been voted to go out of committee that have significant zoning implications for municipalities in the Commonwealth. So House Bill 1976 would require that multifamily housing be a permitted use in areas zoned for commercial in municipalities with populations over 5,000. So that obviously would impact South Whitehall. House Bill 2045 would require that duplex, triplex, and quadplex housing be a permitted use in areas zoned for single-family housing in municipalities with populations over 5,000. There's currently a coalition made up of developers, business stakeholders, housing advocates, planners, and others. That basically the gist of that was that they were commissioned to suggest that Pennsylvanians want the state to require more housing options and decrease local decision making. So legislators that are in support of these bills contended that they're responsible to the taxpayers and that zoning should encourage multi-use development seen in boroughs and cities with housing units located close to and sometimes above businesses instead of zoning housing commercial development into separate districts. So PSATs is essentially recommending that municipalities send either resolutions or letters of opposition to local legislators. So as such, if the board is inclined, I could certainly put together a letter which essentially indicates that these bills ignore the planning process that in communities like South Whitehall have it been developed extensively. For example, our 2023 comprehensive plan. So this legislation would ignore that process and would attempt to solve the problem of affordable housing across the Commonwealth in a vacuum, and it would intermix high-density housing in areas without factoring in the unique requirements of each Commonwealth community for parking and coordination of utilities, planned recreation facilities, preserving the character of existing neighborhoods, and the preservation of open space and historical features. So if the board is inclined to support the motion, I will put together a letter that conveys that sentiment, if that's the will of the board.
Very good, Tom. Thank you for that presentation. And Dave Manhart, thank you for preparing this memo. There's a lot of information here. I certainly do agree with the township taking a position on this. It was certainly concerning to me to read this, given that it is the township's authority under the municipalities planning code to plan for our zoning and our development and our growth. And we in this township have worked very hard to include our citizens in that process, working through our comprehensive plan moving forward. And these bills, if they are approved and adopted, will essentially remove this board, elected body, from any authority to do that any further. And it would also, in my opinion, silence our residents. They would no longer have the ability to be involved in planning of our community. So I certainly do agree with your memo and would very much support you sending a letter to our state legislators. I'm asking them to please not support this bill. But I'll open up to other commissioners for your thoughts.
I would agree. I think there's two levels of concerns with these bills, one more specific, one more broad. Specifically, what the content of the bills, if passed, what that would mean for proposed traditional single unit neighborhoods, which is a majority of South Whitehall Township and certainly other communities as well. So what, the requiring of duplex, triplex, and quadplex housing would mean in traditional single unit neighborhoods. I think that's definitely a concern. The broader concern, though, is what these bills seek to do. In Pennsylvania, there are, I believe, over 2,500 municipalities. And if you've ever been to other parts of the state, you know that each municipality is unique. They have different needs. They have different housing concerns. What's good for one municipality may not be good for another municipality, may not be good for a neighboring municipality. What the city of Allentown needs in terms of affordable housing is far different than what South Whitehall may need, what Lower Macungie may need. And certainly if a community is inclined to permit duplexes or other forms of housing in areas that are traditionally zoned for single family housing, they're more than welcome to do so through zoning ordinance updates and other amendments. But to mandate that this be applied in a uniform manner across all 2,500 municipalities in the state, I think would be doing a disservice to each of those municipalities. The whole reason why townships and boroughs were set up in terms of a form of government going back hundreds of years is so that local citizens could make decisions in the best interest of their own community. And I think that these bills would run counter to that. So we may vote to send a letter, but I would also encourage any resident in the township who's opposed to these bills, please contact Representative Schlossberg. Please contact either Senators Coleman or Miller and urge them to oppose these bills, because the impact this could have, certainly statewide, would be negative, but especially in places like South Whitehall and the Parkland School District. It's hard to imagine what this township, the challenges, both financial and otherwise, this township could face if these bills were adopted.
Both well said, President Kelly and Commissioner Roth. I agree and support your letter, Tom. I'm against this. Providing a blanket mandate like this is definitely an overreach. And to me, it's reckless and it's dangerous. We have to think of our resources, which are finite. We have to think of our traffic, our intersections, providing safety, our emergency responders, our infrastructure. water, sewer, it just goes on and on. And I don't feel that power and that level of knowledge and understanding of a township should be taken away from a township or a municipality. Because at the local level, our staff, our residents, our local officials know what's best for that particular township.
I'd just like to reiterate saying opposition to this bill, but more importantly, that the residents share their hopefully opposition to this bill with our representatives. The state legislature does not know the community as well as the residents know their community. So basically what they're saying is they're going to take away the residents' input into what gets developed in their municipality and give it to legislatures who don't even live here. So hopefully not only the letter from the township, but as well as our residents can send the message to our representatives, our opposition to these ideas.
Well said. Commissioner Johns, do you have anything to add? You turn your microphone.
Right. The 4E's did a great job with it. So nothing else to add.
Very good. Comments from the full board. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on this. And I believe you have the direction that you need from our board.
Yes, thank you. I'll send a letter tomorrow.
I would add that you expressed in that letter that it was a unanimous decision of this board as well.
Will do. Thank you.
I need a motion to approve the motion to authorize the township manager to send the letter of opposition.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 10, correspondence and information. Our boards and commissions. Tom, if you would just briefly review.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings are as follows, with all the details posted on the Township website. Monday, June 24th, 5:30 p.m. is the Landscape and Shade Tree Commission. Monday, June 24th, 6 p.m. is the Environmental Advisory Council meeting. Wednesday, June 26th, 7 p.m. is the Zoning Hearing Board. I think actually that was
I believe it was canceled.
That was canceled, right? Yeah. Monday, July 1st, 7 p.m. Public Safety Commission. Wednesday, July 3rd, the Board of Commissioners meeting is canceled. Thursday, July 4th, Independence Day holiday, offices are closed. Tuesday, July 9th, 6 p.m. Crime Watch. Wednesday, July 10th, 10 a.m. Civil Service Commission. The Thursday, July 11th, Planning Commission meeting has been canceled due to the fact that no plans were received for review by the deadline. Wednesday, July 17th, 7 p.m. Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Agenda item 11, direction discussion, Crackers Port Road and Eck Road status update. And if you'd present.
Sorry. Okay, so at the January 24, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting, IPT Allentown DC LLC requested a second extension of their subdivision improvements agreement. The motion passed that evening included the language that the developer would come back to the first meeting in July to give the Board of Commissioners an update on the project. As you just heard, the first meeting in July has been canceled, so the developer agreed to appear at the June 19th, 2024 meeting tonight. In addition to site improvements for the project included Crackersport Road, Eck Road, Chapman's Road, Ridgeview Avenue, Route 309, resident concerns at 1273 Eck Road, Norfolk Southern Rail crossing, and administrative items. So the representative of the developer, Mr. Matt Culp, is here this evening to provide an update to the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you.
Good evening. As Tom mentioned, you asked me to come back here in the beginning of July to give you an update. Very happy to report that I think we're moving forward with all the offsite improvements that are kind of remaining and outstanding on the project. Look at the finite items that are out there. It's the intersection of Chapman's Road and Eck Road, which required an HOP permit. That work is well underway. The demolition has started. We've started doing pipe work, cutting a roadway back and prepping for sidewalks. This work's scheduled to finish up this summer. Moving down the road, there's the Norfolk Southern crossing. Well, we've initially had trouble getting the rail protective services companies that Norfolk Southern requires to get out on site. Recently, we've contacted them and they've given us the names of new companies that'll do this. Reached out to two of them. They both agreed that as soon as we get our insurance and the township insurance, which Tom just told me this week that he's renewing the policy. Once we get that, we can get on the schedule, and it's only a couple of weeks. So hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll be able to report a start date, and it should only be 2 weeks of work once we actually get started out there. And I think the third and final piece is the drainage improvements, 1273 Eck Road. Since we met here in January, Pidcock Company and the township staff, we've been out there several times. I think as of April, we've gotten through all Pidcock's concerns. And then in May, we did some, these improvements will require some right-of-way easement and some easements. We got the language together, and I think that Zeta's office has signed off on what we've proposed, and now they're in front of the neighbor for his approval. So provided we get signed off on that, that works only a couple weeks worth of work, and we'll be able to finish this up this summer as we anticipated.
Very good, Matt. Thank you for that presentation. Just ask our township engineer and solicitor if there are any additional comments.
No, I mean, what he said regarding the work, we're out there now inspecting that intersection. I think everyone that drives by knows that's going through. They're working on a detour plan, but that should greatly improve that intersection. Norfolk Southern, we're waiting. We know it's a small amount of work. Obviously, he mentioned that there's some agreements, some documents needed. They're working through that. And we have no other comments. We did meet multiple times in terms of the proposal for the stormwater for the property, and whenever that starts, we will be in assistance to however the township needs us.
Very good.
And then at the end of the project, there will always be final inspection, which we'll have to go through and check every other item up and down the roadway, all the public improvements. So there will be a list coming out, and we're trying to keep something up to date, but it's not a final inspection. They know that. We'll have to go through that process before it even goes into maintenance, but that will all happen.
And we've seen several drafts of that and items that are on that we've been ticking off and just trying to get a clean one at the end. So when the project does finish, it's going to be a smaller list that we need to complete.
Very good.
I have nothing to add or nothing to report, but I will note that since I drive by there every day coming to work and every day going home, I'll be glad to give you a twice daily report if you'd like.
Very good. Thank you, Attorney Zader. Are there any board comments or questions for Mr. Culp? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to do that on courtesy of the floor since it was a discussion item. So there's no old business courtesy of the floor. Any member of the public who has any non-agenda items, come on up, please. For the record, if you'd identify your name and address, especially for those online.
Ryan Height, 1273 Eck Road. I'm the resident that Mr. Matt Culp talked about. My statement is generally the same as was presented to this board in January as the flooding continues, and nothing has been done since January to now to mitigate, solve what's occurring currently. There are plans, but nothing directly to prevent more damage from occurring. My question, and I realize this is under courtesy of the floor and nobody has to answer, but previously the plans to fix the township's problems with their road design and construction was tied to the Norfolk Southern. My question, and you don't have to answer it this evening, is if Norfolk Southern gets delayed again, is what's going to happen at my property going to be delayed as well? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know, Tom, did you have any comment?
My understanding is that they're not linked together, and that was the last time I talked about it with Mr. Culp. And I would just ask if you could please reaffirm that statement.
If you just come to the microphone, because it's a virtual meeting as well. I'm sorry.
Because we didn't want it linked together. If for, as Mr. Height mentioned, if there's a snafu with Norfolk Southern.
for some reason.
No, absolutely. These projects are separate. They're both contracted, ready to go. As soon as we get the documentation we need for either of them, we'll schedule and start either of them.
Very good. Thank you. Is there anyone else under courtesy of the floor with any public comment? Is there anyone online? No. I need a motion to authorize payment of invoices and disbursements. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We have no executive session. I need a motion to adjourn.
One more thing. Chief, is Dorney doing fireworks this year?
Yes, they're going to be doing 3 nights from my understanding.
3 nights.
3 nights, yes, correct.
It's okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.